So if I was going to use property data matrix from a rent-to-rent and serviced accommodation management point of view, I would probably start off with formation companies and try and make contact with potential investors before they've even actually purchased a property, and try and work with them and convince them that rent to rent would be a lot less of a headache for them than managing tenants themselves. And I would probably look for people who had other businesses already established. So it's that turnkey or time factor that they don't have the time to manage it themselves. So they was likely going to put it out with a lettings agent anyway. So if I look at SIC code 68100 and I look at yesterday, this is going to bring up every single company that's launched in the UK in the last 24 hours that have the SIC code 68100, meaning they want to buy and sell their own real estate. And there was 472 of them. I'm going to focus on Bradford today, so I'm going to narrow that down to Bradford. And we get 2 results. So let's hotch that back to 30 days. So we've got a decent volume to work with. Okay, so we've got 25. So these are 25 companies from Bradford that have launched within the last 30 days that have set up for the sole purpose of buying a property. So we've got the company title, we've got, nothing really filed, there's no mortgage charges on there because they've literally only just launched. I mean, they was incorporated on the 6th of January and it's now the 30th. So they've not been going very long at all. What I want to know though is, do they have any other businesses? Some will, some won't. So yeah, this one has UK Tax Investments and UK Tax Associates Limited. This is a really ideal candidate because they have established businesses. They're probably businesses where they're building cash, and this is more going to be a business where they build wealth. So it's normally the case they want to protect their money long term. It may not be an active business for them. They may just be looking at it as an investment. So these are the exact type of individuals, directors that I would contact and try and convince them that rent to rent is the right way to go. They purchase a property, I would rent it, and I would manage the property on their behalf, guarantee them the rent, and it would be certainly a lot less headache than taking standard tenants, and probably a bit more margin than if they was going to put it out to a lettings agent. So we've got 3 ways, 3 types of searches. We've got a default search for social media, so I can run this chap's name against LinkedIn. I've got advanced, which is my go-to filter, which will search the name and location. And I've got AI, which will search the name, location, and any previous directorships that he's held on other companies or jobs within those other companies he's a director on. So I'm going to click LinkedIn now. And if we don't find him on this one, AI should find him. There we go. So we've got senior accountant at UK Tax Associates Limited. We already know that is an associated company of this director. So now what I'm going to do is send a connection request. I'm going to send without a note, and hopefully he'll add me back and I'll start my conversation. I could, of course, send a message straight away. I'm going to save that to CRM and I'll save it to people I've contacted on LinkedIn. Saved. Now, when he does accept it, I'll just be able to search his name, find out which company he's a director of from the search on our platform, and I'll just say, congratulations on launching your property company. Would love a quick 15-minute discovery call to show you how we might be able to help you secure a long-term rental income from your property with a lot less risk than taking on a standard tenant. Another thing that we could do, we could put in a custom date range and say head back to 2015 or whenever we like, and we'll do a much bigger search of property companies from Bradford from a longer time period. So we've got well over 1,000 there. I can then just click a button, click search, and then it will just tell me which ones are property owners. So if I wanted to start working down the list with sort of a scattergun approach and just contact as many landlords as possible, I could absolutely do this. I could also run an advanced report. Just give it a name and it will start going to read more information at company's house. So mortgage charges, addresses from those charges. It will just read a lot more information, financial information, that sort of thing. And how that would appear, if I go into my report section now and open up here. Again, I could just click cash buyers, use some of the quick buttons, or I could say open up these advanced filters, and I might want to look at companies with, I don't know, at least 10 mortgages. And we've got 13 companies here. So these are volume buyers, these are serious investors, and may be more receptive to some non-standard deals like rent to rent. They may be more open to deals like that. I mean, this chap's got 10 mortgages. I mean, there's all the addresses down there. Certainly worth a contact, certainly worth contacting some of these larger investors who may be open to more non-standard landlord-tenant relationships. So certainly one to go for, certainly using the advanced filters by looking at volume buyers. But again, you could just, filter by property owners and contact whether they have a mortgage or not. You could filter by cash buyers, so there might not be that question over mortgages. Does my mortgage allow rent to rent? There's a lot of filters you can do there, but the point is you can filter it by serious buyers and proven property investors. I would probably also approach landlords who are going through an active eviction. I'd do that by selecting PDM Courts. I would go to, not mortgage repossessions, I would go to rent repossessions, private rent repossessions, and I'm going to search the last 30 days. Search. There we go. And those are within the last 30 days. I'm going to narrow that down to Bradford. Search. And we've got something like 13 active evictions. Now, these are landlords who are going through the headache of an eviction. So, something attracted them to property. They wanted to invest in property. They maybe just didn't appreciate some of the headaches that could come with tenants. Maybe they're a seasoned landlord and just think, do you know what, renters' rights bills coming in. There's a lot of stuff coming in now. I'm not ready to sell my property, but I don't want to do as a standard rent anymore. Maybe they don't have the experience to do Airbnb, and rent to serviced accommodation would be an absolute perfect middle ground for them. So let's select this this company here. It should load their property in a moment, or properties. But again, we've got the directors here. We could up there. So we've got a doctor here, a couple sharing the same last name. So it might even be a family investment company that they've done. They've got 2 properties and they're going through an eviction. This would absolutely be worth contacting. Absolutely worth contacting. Say, you're already going through an eviction. Is this something that you want to experience again, or would you be interested in a rent to rent? And that they're a property investor, and they're about to have an empty property. It's the absolute perfect time to contact them. And just in Bradford alone, there's 13 of those within the last 30 days. So absolutely worth contacting any landlord going through an active eviction. That's certainly what I would do if I was doing rent to rents or rent to serviced accommodation. Another one I would probably use, possibly planning's looking for people with applying for HMO licenses. Maybe they don't want the headache of running the HMO, but another one I would probably contact if it was specifically for rent to serviced accommodation and not actually just running it as a standard HMO. I would check out PDM contracts. Now, I would look for awarded contracts. And let me search, let's go Bradford. Now what I'm looking for is large construction companies or construction companies that have won large contracts. So if we scroll down here, maybe anything sort of, you know, a few £100,000, or the fire door maintenance. Let's check out this one. There was an asbestos one back there, did I see as well? Asbestos, so we'll open up that one as well. Fire door maintenance, that's a £186,000 contract, and Jeffrey Robinson Limited has won it. Jeffrey Robinson is in TS2, and it's at Bradford Hospital. That's a couple of hours away. TS23, that's a couple of hours away. So what I would do is contact them and say, hey, you've got a big contract coming up in the area. We can provide serviced accommodation at a discount if you're booking long term. You might get a few months out of that. It's absolutely worth contacting them. Absolutely worth contacting any construction company that's out of area. Asbestos remediation, £60,000 contract. OL10, was that an hour away? Yeah, it's again absolutely worth contacting. So if you know there's large construction companies that have won projects in your area but they're based out of your area, just contact the company, let them know that you have serviced accommodation and you might be able to do some discounts for some longer term bookings. Absolutely worth doing. And I would say if I was doing rent-to-rent serviced accommodation, or even managing serviced accommodation, I would be trying to convince newly formed property companies to buy specifically for that. I would be contacting landlords going through an active eviction and getting them to repurpose their property for rent to serviced accommodation to offer to manage that for them. And I would also be trying to find construction companies that may be open to renting a bit longer term through PDM contracts. So they are the modules that I would use on Property Data Matrix if I was doing rent to serviced accommodation or managing serviced accommodation.